IVM.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, your peak performance coach, life coach, emotional intelligence practitioner, and NLP practitioner. I'm also the founder of Abzo Expertise Unique, and my organization constantly aims at building leaders across continents. After having worked with so many dynamic business honchos, entrepreneurs, startups, CEOs, management gurus, parents, and student communities worldwide, I am convinced that every individual has unleashed potential. And all we really need to do is realize it. Watch the magic unfold, enhance quality of life, relationships, and professions. On my show, be ready for some riveting conversations with inspirational people, snippets, stories, and much more. So here I am on this exceptional journey to find empowerment and inspiration anywhere I can. Come join me on this breathtaking path of self-realization, potential maximization, positivity, and most of all, embrace your inner power. You are on your way to empowering yourselves. Welcome to the Empowering Series with Zarina Poonawalla. On today's episode, I'm in conversation with an innovator, entrepreneur, and diligent strategist and market specialist. Please welcome Amrita Chowdhury, director and co-founder at GAIA. Hello, Amrita. Welcome to the show. How have you been?
Hi, Zarina. Wonderful to be here. Doing well.
Doing well. Just very glad to know that. How have the past few months, or let's say practically this entire year, treated you, Amrita? It's been a while now.
I know it's coming to the end of the year and we're entering the festive season, which seems very quiet. But the year has been, both positive and negative. So I think on the positive side, as a business, we've been extremely busy. It's been a time to sort of relook at some of our solutions, a lot of enrichments that we were waiting to do, we were able to find the time to do it and create, take our solutions to the next step. Also, some new clients have also come in because what we do is about digital transformation. It's a lot about remote monitoring, contactless, services for enterprises. And again, that's an area where people are realizing the benefits and the need of the hour is really technology and technology-enabled automation. So in that sense, it's been good. Obviously, on the negative side, and there are fairly many negatives of the entire situation, of the fact that teams are spread around. We manage to work in a distributed way, and I think we do well. But what falls to the cracks sometimes is the communication, the camaraderie that's needed to do the work that we do. So as a company, we are a B2B company. So that client engagement, becomes fairly critical at times. And while a lot of it has moved online, occasionally you do need to meet people, and that becomes a challenge.
I know, I can imagine. So that's the new normal for all of us, right? Amrita, anything that you've discovered about yourself during this pandemic?
It's not something that I've discovered, but it's just that, I've found the time to write a lot more, it's still in the business domain, but I do love writing. So I've found the time to write a lot more articles and, market facing things, which in the normal course of things in the last few years, it's been a little limited. So that's been good. And I've been also able to reconnect. So one of my passions, of course, has been the creative side throughout, alongside business and tech. And I've written a couple of books. And over the past few months, actually, I've started a series where we are bringing together women content creators, women authors. So it's been really nice to talk to people. I do that every week to 10 days. I have a conversation with somebody around the world, a woman who's an author, a writer, blogger.
Right.
So it's fun.
Wow, that's interesting. That's something innovative, even where, you don't need to be innovative. So even in your personal space, you've got some innovation going on. I like that. Amrita, GAIA is quite an interesting concept. There's technology, there's solutions, and there's so much going on under that one umbrella. But before we get on to the brand, I would love to know how you embarked upon this entrepreneurial journey of yours.
So, we started GAIA 5 years back, and my co-founders and I, we were really looking at how technology is transforming the built environment and the systems and distributed operations around us. So there's a few different things that's happening. There's a lot of devices, including mobile phones and sensor-led automation that has become very prevalent and very easily available. There's a lot of artificial intelligence and analytics capabilities that have developed. And there's a lot of digital automation that has started happening. So we wanted to bring all of these three elements together to see how we could impact what we call smart sites and smart cities. And when you look at any smart site or a smart city, you're bringing together many elements. You're bringing together the environment itself, the space, the assets and the equipment in the space. You're bringing together the people and the processes that come along with it. And what we aimed to do was to transform all of that, bring in a lot of technologies, stitched together, which will help enterprises manage their large-scale distributed operations. And, the name also, there's a theory called the GAIA hypothesis, which says that, everything in the earth is really interconnected. And if you remember the movie Avatar, that was based on this particular hypothesis, that there is an interconnection between the, physical and the non-physical world. And since we are connecting systems, people, equipment, assets through sensors and data and automation, that's where the name sort of came from. So that was really our the vision with which we started the company. And today what we are is we are an IoT and AI platform, and we have these the solution stack, which collectively helps to monitor the last mile through both sensors and various edge applications. And we bring the data, do a lot of synthesis at the cloud level, a lot of analytics, a lot of rich insights, and we provide our clients a way to manage their operations. So
And this goes for organizations at any scale, or is there a particular scale that you require an organization to be for something of this caliber?
No, I think anything even a small organization to a large organization can really benefit from this digitalization and automation that we are talking about, because at the user level, we've made sure that it's very simple and easy to adopt. And at the insights and the dashboard level, there's a lot of complexity analytics built into it, so that you get an understanding of your business. So our clients tend to be we have a wide spectrum. So we have let's say for Amul, we are monitoring all of their distribution warehouses nationally in 29 states, 84 cities. Bring all of them onto a common platform so that Amul knows, okay, what's happening in my warehouses across the country. Are my products safe? Are they moving safely? Product quality as it moves from place A to place E. We have clients who are smart cities, where again, we're bringing together multiple solutions onto a platform. We have clients at at a smaller scale, at a building scale. So we have clients in the hospital space, where a hospital site is an entity where a lot is happening. Right, it's a dynamic space. A lot of events happen in those spaces, or buildings those kinds of clients, factories. So it could be a single site, or it could be an aggregation of sites which are spread out.
That's fantastic, Amrita. And I love the concept of actually using the GAIA hypothesis in something like this, because one wouldn't think of it. So that's another very interesting aspect of the business, because I was going to ask you what the name means, but that was for the listeners. I know the GAIA hypothesis already. So I'm glad you shared that too. Amrita, you started off in marketing, or did you start off in, you never started off thinking about entrepreneurship, did you?
No, I didn't.
Right.
I mean, I did toy with the idea at different points of time, but I started out fairly traditional.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I was growing up, I come from a family of doctors, and I really had two choices in front of me: become a doctor or become an engineer. And
Okay.
so, and I don't like the sight of blood, so I said, okay, fine, like engineering it is. So I went to IIT Kanpur, and that sort of set me on a path of engineering slash innovation. So from IIT, I went off to Berkeley. I worked in Silicon Valley for a couple of years and did my MBA, moved into strategy consulting, and that was across a variety of industries, but a lot of it
Right.
was around unlocking new business opportunities by starting new businesses inside large Fortune 100 kind of companies. So a lot of
Right.
my early business training happened in that domain of looking at very large companies and seeing if they had to expand and if they had to open a new line of business, how do they go about doing it. So when I moved and from the US, I moved to Australia, and then I moved back to India.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
actually,
No, because
yeah,
I was in
so,
Australia as well, so I moved back from Australia as
ah,
well. So whereabout were you?
so I was in Melbourne, which is a lovely city.
Okay. Yeah, I
Where
was
were
in
you?
Sydney. Sydney,
Okay,
Sydney. So yeah,
okay,
that's
okay.
nice. Yeah,
Oh well, like,
go back.
there's a whole Melbourne Sydney rivalry, but we shall not go into that right now.
Not at all, not at all. I love Melbourne equally. So yeah, go back to your story now.
Yeah. So, when I moved back to India, I really wanted to get my hands dirty on how to run a business. So, and I also had this I guess a latent desire, you may call, to work
Hmm.
in the creative industries. So I spent some years running creative businesses. So
Right.
I worked for Harvard Business School. I was running the executive education business for South Asia. Then I was heading a publishing company for South Asia, and then a marketing and brand strategy firm, which is a part of Future Group.
Hmm.
So it gave me uh, from technology and big business, it was a wonderful veer into the world of marketing and creativity and things that I've loved at a personal level. And then when I was in my last role, the Smart Cities mission had just happened at that point of time, and there was a lot of work that I was doing from the marketing perspective and the stakeholder and governance management perspective of looking at government missions, government programs, and the whole how do you change the macroeconomic framework of our country and our cities. And I was like, okay, I really want to do something different. And my co-founders were looking at doing the same thing, but from a technology angle. So it was, it was a good meeting of minds.
Hmm.
By the way, one of my co-founders is my husband, and
Oh wow,
we have
interesting.
yeah, and I've never worked with him before, so it's been interesting in its own right. But so we joined forces, and it also gave me a way to go back into technology, because at the end of the day, we are a tech company, very, very hard coded DNA in all the new age technologies, as you might call it, Internet of Things, AI, machine learning, a lot of deep analytics, all of that is what we package together.
Hmm.
And I had started out in tech, so I have, in some senses, gone back full circle to tech.
Wow, that's quite a commendable way of, just globally acquiring all that knowledge, all that experience, and then finally putting it into everything you have when it comes to your own country and thinking so macro. That's wonderful, Amrita. But working with your husband can be one other story altogether. So far, you've said the journey's been good, so I'm glad to hear that too.
Yeah.
Well, Amrita, the fact that you have had such global exposure and you've had your education from IIT Kanpur, you've worked in different organizations around the world. Do you think there's a challenge when it comes to working in India on the basis of that, or do you see things differently in terms of the working models that we have here, business models?
Sure. Uh, I think now I'm very adopted the Indian way of working. When I did come back initially, it was a few things were different. One is our ability to live in the gray zone, right? So everything doesn't need to be as well defined, but we still manage to do it, right? And that is something that's very different from the way it happens, work happens in the global markets, where you plan a lot more. You sort of, everything is, it's orchestrated to a T, so that you know that you will not, make a set of mistakes. In India, we operate with the principle of fail fast and fail often, and go ahead with it. And I think now I can see the advantages of it. It brings us a lot more agility. Yeah. But it's definitely extremely, extremely different from the way global markets operate. And I think the other thing that's very different here is, and that's something that I have faced even before my entrepreneurship journey, is the fact that contracts are flexible. So you think you've signed a contract, but very often, you realize that there is a written word and there is a signed document, but it's very easy for your client to walk away from that, and it just means that you are constantly you're managing on many, many more fronts than you would in a global market.
I quite like the suspense created after the word contract, because I was like, contract, yes, sure. And you said it so smoothly. And I'm wondering, oh, yes, of course, that is such a valid point. But how do you make sure that you've learned from that particular, let's say, not a mistake, but experience per se, when it comes to contracts or dealing with people, when it comes to verbal or written communication and agreements?
I think it's a constant battle. It's a constant lesson, and it's a constant, way of adaptation to market realities and to client realities. And that's the only way about it. You always have to be a little mindful. You always have to read through, even though you know that sometimes the written word may not stand, but still there is at least a 50% chance that it will stand. So you have to be extremely careful when you're writing things down.
True. That's very true. And Amrita, how has GAIA managed through this pandemic, and how have you responded to this crisis as a company?
It's been quite interesting, in these last few months. I think definitely on the positive side, if you see, there's a lot of talk of digital transformation. There's a lot of talk of if I have sites and people and operations which are complex and distributed, how do I make it contactless? How do I bring in automation? One of the biggest challenges right now is that everybody needs to operate at a higher level of health and safety standards. At the same time, people are scarce. There are norms in many scenarios about how many people can be in a particular space at a particular point of time. So you just need to become a lot more productive person. And a lot of our technologies are really, because these are operational technologies, they're helping the operations team. So we help the frontline people who are doing tasks and managing different parts of the business, the back end or the front end business, but really the front line, last mile effort of any business. And over there, this effect of people and the fact that people might not be available as much is felt a lot more. And everybody wants efficiency. Everybody wants improvement and productivity. You want to reduce your overheads. So in that sense, the business case, the pandemic has to some extent shaped the narrative of the business case, right? Yeah. So that's a good thing. Obviously, people are still cautious. So it does still take time to convince people and to do what we need to do and to get new clients into the fold and all of that. But what it really means is that there is a large market out there. And this whole idea of connected sites and connected workforces is something that people had been talking about for the last several years. But suddenly, there is, people are a lot more open to this very idea, right? And so in that context, it's a good situation to be in. It also means that there's a lot more that we need to do. One of the things that we had started at the start of the year was we had opened our US entity, and we have a small starter team there. So just to kick off things over there has been a lot slower than what we imagined it would be. But again, like this is what we realize as we speak with people is that these are common problems that transcend geographies, and it's something that people are wanting to address around the world. So it was one of those areas which was, sort of dark data, and it wasn't solved around the world. There was a lot of manual intervention that happened. So in that sense, the opportunity space is really global. So then it depends upon us, how we tackle it and shape it, and do what we need to do, which is what we are trying to do right now.
Quite noteworthy, I'd say. And how about, dealing with employees or making sure that there's a comfort on their front? Because I think one of the major areas of concern through the pandemic have been how to handle your employees, or laying them off, or keeping them, or, the pay cuts, or taking those kind of hits, and as a company dealing with that. So I've been hearing a lot of cases, a lot of situations and stories from the beginning of this entire lockdown situation. How have you been dealing with your employees on that front?
So multiple things. I think the biggest challenge, of course, is communication.
Right.
And often, we think that we are saving time in travel, and there is a lot more of social communication that happens in the office, and we can be a lot more productive when we are remote, which is all well for the first few weeks or maybe a couple of months.
Right.
But eventually, that human factor gets missing in all of these various video calls that we keep doing. Right. And so a lot of things that can happen with a smile or with a pat on the back cannot happen digitally and virtually. And
Right.
that's where you have to make so much of an extra effort to say that, okay, I need communication. I need people to feel happy. I need people to feel engaged and motivated and all of that. Right. So that's really critical. The other thing is, I think as a startup and as a company, we've been very committed to supporting people. So we have not done pay cuts. We've had a couple of people who were non-performers. So we have definitely made the choice to let
Right.
go of people who were either already on the path out or were non-performers. We've also hired a few people in the tech space because we just needed to. So in that sense, I think we've been as fair as we can be, and as committed and conscious as we can be to our team. In the early days, when things were a lot bleaker, and it's not that things are much rosier now. The pandemic doesn't seem to be ending.
Yes.
All the reports now are saying, okay, April 2021, June 2021, is when we'll sort of be back more in action. But that said, at the very start of the lockdown, one of the interesting things that we did was, we have the solution, which is a workforce management solution, which has been operational in hospitals. And we were able to customize it and take it to one of our clients, which is GAIA Smart Cities. And we were able to use it for a lot of the emergency response management, the initial part of Agra being a small city. It doesn't have all the e-commerce ecosystem as exists in larger cities. So we were able to mobilize and help the city bring many of its essential services providers from different neighborhoods, from different wards onto a common platform. A lot of the non-critical emergency response services that the city was providing, we digitalized all of that, and we used our AI algorithm to actually allocate the task seamlessly to. They had signed up the civil defense team to meet citizen requests, and we were able to do that. From there, it's gone on to expand into helping with utilities and utility-related challenges, requests, and all of that. And all of this actually gave us a lot of, brownie points and appreciation from various quarters, not just our clients, but it got mentioned by in various government press conferences and press communications and all of that. So even though our regular clients and, when you have SaaS platforms, if the client is not using it, they may not pay you, which is a challenge, right? We were able to show a different kind of an impact at that point of time and earn a lot of goodwill and earn a lot of, I think, visibility as a company for doing the things that we did.
That's amazing, actually, isn't it? I mean, turning around an obstacle and an adversity and finding opportunity even in that, it's wonderful. And not an opportunity to fill your pockets up, but to make sure that you're able to give to society or just stay consistent. I think that's a wonderful way of looking at your business model, and probably it shows the kind of thought leadership you guys have at the level you are. So fantastic. Kudos to you on that, Amrita, I'd say.
Thank you.
Amrita, so like we're talking about the organization and the name of the organization, of course, we all know that in a way, Gaia is also, say, known as Mother Earth or the goddess of the earth, right? So when I'm talking about the organization, it's a woman whose character you have depicted through the name. Coming to this aspect of, my question is that, do you think as a woman, it has been challenging, the whole journey for you ever since the beginning or at any point in time has been challenging, um, to probably prove yourself or to make your mark in a certain space, which could have been dominant by the other gender or any such. As a woman, have you faced challenges?
So I think it's a yes in a certain ways and a
Mm-hmm.
no in some other ways. So let me
Okay.
talk about the yeses first. So yes, in the sense that our social construct actually tells us to behave in a particular way, and we're told to do certain things, like speak like this, talk like this, behave like this, sit like this, right? So we're told all of these things as we're growing up. I mean, thankfully, my parents were very progressive, so I didn't see a lot of it in my immediate family as I was growing up. But when I
Right.
went into IIT, and it's a common phenomenon that you will hear from women engineers from around the world, but especially more so in IIT, the ratios are so skewed. Um,
Mm.
the biggest lesson that I took away from IIT was really to be quiet, to try to become invisible, right? So that nobody will bother you. And that is something that, it doesn't help you in life, right? So the next few years after I graduated and I went, off to the US and started my first job, I had to unlearn a lot of this, right? And because these are self-limiting behaviors. So, and anytime you have to unlearn behaviors, you have to put in the effort. It requires a lot of perseverance. You have to keep doing it because, certain things get ingrained when you start behaving in a particular way in a particular environment.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it's really about saying, okay, I need to have a voice. I need to have a voice at the table. I need to be at the table, right? So it means
Right.
that you change yourself, and which is what I've done, right? And it's about saying, okay, what's the kind of impact that I want to have? What is the kind of performance that I want to deliver? What's the sort of big picture that I want to stitch together? And if those are the things that I want to do, then I need to act and behave and think in a particular way, and that is something that I do now. From a no context, I'd say that entrepreneurship is challenging for anybody, be it a man or a woman. There's a lot of different things that you need to piece together. There is, and especially in a tech startup, there is the innovation part, there is the your clients part, managing payment cycles, which are actually fairly erratic in India. The ecosystem of people that you need to collaborate with at any given point of time. There's many different things that you need to constantly worry about,
Of
and
course.
that's the same. Whether you're a male entrepreneur or a female entrepreneur. The only difference sometimes is that you want to be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So we come with that precondition, right? That I don't think a male entrepreneur will say, would I be taken seriously or not? They will assume that they would be taken seriously. As a woman entrepreneur, you have it at the back of your mind that, okay, I need to show the extra effort. I need to do my homework a little bit more. I need to learn a little deeper so that I can really show an understanding of my clients' problems. I can show that I know how to solve their problems, and hence, I bring value to the table. So that's fairly critical. And a lot of the clients that we deal with are large enterprises, businesses, government, and so on. So again, it's very critical to say that you project yourself in a particular way, and you have to make the effort.
That's actually quite true because there are a couple of challenges that are common for all. But yeah, being taken seriously is one of those things that you have to work extra hard for. So
Mm-hmm.
you're quite right about that one. And any other particular challenges through the journey of Gaia that you possibly have overcome in a certain way, or you think that this is the way you must overcome challenges? Just something for our listeners out there.
So, I think entrepreneurship is challenging,
Of
but it's
course.
also fairly thrilling, right? What you're doing is that you're giving shape to an idea. From that idea, you're really crafting a business. You're putting together the big picture. You're sort of synthesizing a lot of things, and so in that sense, it's you're constantly storytelling, and you're telling a story internally because you need to motivate the team. You are telling a story internally because you're trying to create a solution which didn't exist. So you need to stitch together a set of thoughts and convince your own internal tech team that, look, I think this is the way, this is how it will work. I think it can work, right? So you're always storytelling inside, and then externally you're always storytelling because you're talking to your clients. You're telling them how you can impact their business. You're trying to speak to the broader stakeholders out there. You're trying to project an image for yourself and for your company. So I think what the biggest battle is really to keep going and
Mm-hmm.
keep going and keep going, right? That's really the biggest lesson of it all, that you're on your own, relying on your wits, and you're relying on yourself to change things, not just for yourself, but for your team, right? And so that becomes a responsibility that you're responsible for your team members and their families, and it's a commitment in that sense. So yeah, I mean, you just need to figure out how to stay enthused,
Mm-hmm.
because challenges come on a daily basis. One day is good, the other day is not so good. Like a day, you get something positive from a client, the next day, you get something negative from a client, and so it can really, you can go on you can be on a uh, tossed around on a wave, and that's
Right.
not the way to operate. So you have to find your own way of finding that peace,
Mm-hmm.
your own way of saying that I will deal with it. And that's really the biggest thing that you learn as an entrepreneur, that you say, I will deal with it.
Fantastic. I think, if I may, I reckon challenges are like heartbeats because if they're up and down and, the heart is still beating and it's still pumping, so it's a flat line, you don't have anything to really live for. So it's fun to welcome those challenges that come up, taking you on your tidal way every now and
Yes, yes.
then. uh, what do you think about the future plans of Gaia, and how do you think you're going to look at the new normal? So, currently, yes, we're just going back into regular work, the new normal, as they call it these days. But really, what do you think it's going to look like in the future, Amrita?
I think the future will definitely be slightly different,
Mm-hmm.
but the future will also be a lot more digital than it was, right? So I think as individuals, we need to navigate this digital blended mode of operation a lot more. And as businesses, we need to find those pathways where this digital and automation is what your clients seek. Right?
Hmm.
So in that sense, at Gaia, I think there is a lot of scope, as I said, of doing of taking our solutions to the market. We have to find those paths and weave through those paths. We also had started on our global journey, and in the first few years, we did focus a lot more on India. We made the conscious decision that we will go global. And one of the things of building for India is that you build things with a lot more ruggedness and a lot more versatility. So you're able to then take it to different markets as well. And that's what our goal is. So, I mean, right now, I have a lot of conversations ongoing in a couple of 2, 3 different geographies. The US, where we have a small team, and South America, LATAM markets. We're starting conversations in a couple of other markets as well. So I think the future is going to be new. It's going to be different, and for us, it's going to be a blend of global and Indian.
Amazing. That's incredible.
So, you are a coach, right? You're and a motivational speaker. So, what have you learned from talking to people and their life stories of how they are dealing with either this adversity or the
Mm-hmm.
continuous set of cyclical changes that happen in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I have actually learned quite a bit, Amrita, in the last few months because, the conversations have become so much more, and a lot of people have come to me for a conversation in session during this time. One thing that I've clearly learned is it is just the perception of your reality that you choose to see. There are people out there who are looking for opportunities. There are people out there who are looking at it as an adversity, and which it is. But most of all, if you have a meal on your table like you had yesterday, or it's not changed in the past 6 months, you literally have nothing to complain for. So, what I'm realizing is that it's a mindset. If in the beginning of this pandemic, the government had told the people of the world that, hey, it's a challenge, a stay-at-home challenge, everybody would have done it happily. But the minute you know that it's a lockdown, your mind
Mm-hmm.
has changed into thinking that, oh, we're locked down, we're caged. So the ones who literally should not have a problem um, are the privileged lot, is in a sense of things. The people who are slightly more fortunate and don't have to worry about their daily wages and things like that. And what I've learned from those people is this is the time to show gratefulness instead of bickering about what is going on around you. And a lot of people have been able to do that successfully, journalizing, and we're working on those things, journalizing, starting to put down what you're grateful for. If your family members are still healthy and nobody has had to go through, God forbid, this whole situation, you're in a great place. If your income is still running, or somebody in the house is still earning, and you're not a breadwinner entirely, you're in a great place. If your roof is the same, you're in a great place. So there's so many things to be thankful for, and that's what people are coming out with during this time, at least where I'm concerned, because that's the kind of conversation we've been having so far.
That's fantastic to know. I mean, one of the things that I've been also very mindful of, and it was something that I was sure I was going to share with you, was the fact
Mm-hmm.
that gratitude is something that keeps me really motivated, because I
Right.
find it a way to regain hope through
Mm.
gratitude.
That is so true, isn't it? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what are we complaining about? I don't even know what to say there. I mean, people are like, oh, I just need some fresh air. I'm tired of being at home. I'm like, you're tired of enjoying your own house, which you may have never enjoyed before. You're tired of a space which is allowing you to work from home and earn and do exactly the same things in the comfort of your home. I mean, just to be tired. So I think it's just a matter of perception. Everyone's perception about this whole pandemic has been so different, apart from the loss and the crisis and the loss of life, economy, and whatnot. Everybody is
Mm-hmm.
looking at it like, you started off as a picnic and then you realize, okay, now the picnic should be over, we want to do what we want to do. So one thing that I've come to a conclusion about is, Amrita, people need to stop thinking the grass is greener on the other side. You just water your own grass
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it is.
Absolutely.
So that's that. But you mentioned gratitude, and I'm glad you did. I think we're both on, have the same wavelength where that's concerned, because that's so, so important. And I think only moments like this is not enough for one to be grateful. You must be grateful every day for something or the other in your life, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Amrita, are there any other beliefs or a particular belief that you swear by?
So, for me, the biggest belief is, that life is about freedom. And when I say freedom, I mean having the freedom of choice to do what I want to do, to say what I want to say, to sort of be all the different things that I want to be. And as a human being, as a person, I have many interests, I have many goals, and I want to be able to find the time and the energy and the excitement to do them all. So in that sense, there is you might call it a belief. You can also call it a metaphor. So my metaphor for my own life has been really that I see it as a river, something that needs to continuously flow. There can be a lot of bends and turns. It can go slow at times. If you see a blockage, you need to go around it, right? You change direction. And there are many, many things that tributaries that come into it. So those are like my interests, and I need to figure out a way of ensuring that there is a time and space for all of that. So whether it is from the business side, innovation and just being out there, to having an impact to my family and children, and creativity, which is has always been a part of my life. So I need to make sure that all of those are there in some shape or form. I think what sometimes, one of my big loves in life has been travel, which I can't do right now. But I'm sure that will come as well. But yeah, I think the belief or the mantra is that we can make our life what we want to, and we can shape it the way we want to shape it.
Absolutely. And just persistent like water, that's what you are, like a river. Wonderful. Amrita, any counsel or, words of wisdom for entrepreneurs, startups, young people out there in leadership roles trying to get into business or trying to keep a consistent pace while running businesses at the moment?
Absolutely. There is a few different things. One is that, I call it my 5 P's in a way. So one is about being passionate, passionate about whatever you do. You have to enjoy it because, success comes from being there for the long haul and being there for the right outcome. And the right outcome means it's the right outcome, not just for you as an individual, but for your entire ecosystem of that you operate in. Right? For your company, for your organization, for your team, it needs to be the right outcome for everybody. So you need to enjoy doing what you are doing and be passionate about it. You have to have a purpose. There's something that you want to achieve, whether it is micro or macro. There is a certain set. There's a number that you want to meet. There is a certain set of clients that you want to meet. You want to have a broader impact on the life of people around you. Whatever it is, there has to be a purpose that your business operates with, and it needs to be there. I think the other one is about partnerships, because we need teams and we need to partner a lot with our. Today the world is full of collaboration, and
Right.
even as a business entity, you collaborate with other businesses and you collaborate with other vendors, partners to deliver something to the end customer that you're serving. So you need to be able to create those partnerships, create the advocacy that is needed so that partners actually come and they want to be with you. You need to cultivate those relationships. You also need to ensure that you have the tough conversations, right? When you need to have them. And the other one is about perseverance. Again, no two ways about it. It is required. It's day in, day out, and you need to stay the course. And I think a lot of young people say that, okay, I need to succeed all the time, and that's
Right.
not something that happens, right? And that's something that you will be turned down by people. And it's easy. I shouldn't say it's easier, but in some roles it's not as visible, but in some other roles, especially when you're trying to win business, you have to take 99 no's. Right? You need to be knocked down very, very often, and you need to be okay with that. Right?
Right.
So that perseverance is there. And finally, I think as a woman, there's this whole idea of perception and creating perceiving the world around you, but also ensuring that you project yourself in the way that you want to project yourself. And those really would be what I would tell others.
That's beautifully put. That's absolutely beautiful. And yes, rejection and failure. I mean, failure is the mother of success. So if you're not willing to fail, you're never going to birth success. You should remember that. I think that's wonderfully spelled out for all of us, Amrita. And lastly, I've got to ask you our signature question. What empowers you?
So, that's a tough one because I would have said gratitude. But now that we've already talked about gratitude, I need to give you something totally different. So,
not quite, not quite. You can elaborate on gratitude if you like. I'm happy with that.
No, but I think the other thing that motivates me. So gratitude, of course, I think we talked about it in many different ways that you need to find that sense of hope continuously, and that's where gratitude comes in. But I think if I were to look at the other thing that empowers me, I think it's creativity. And I think creativity has many, many aspects. I mean, I love the written word. I love visual design. I love sort of the way things look and feel. And that sort of seeps into everything that I do, from the products that we design, the UI interfaces of our applications, the casing of our hardware products, the color combinations, right? So all of that is there's a visual creativity that comes in, and then there is the creativity of ideas, right? Because you're, one of my favorite books is by this author called Howard Gardner, who came out with this theory of multiple intelligences, and his one of his recent books is on 5 minds of the future. And one of the things he talks about there is this creative and the synthesizing brain, because today information is available a lot. And we also are in the business of generating information for our clients, right? Because we are putting in sensors and gathering data which didn't exist before. But the important thing is, how do you synthesize that information, right? What does it really mean? What are the insights that you derive? And then the creativity of saying, okay, now that I have understood what this data means, what is this challenge? What is this breach? What is this alert? Whatever it is, how do I solve it? What do I need to do? And if we had written answers for that, it would be very easy. But a lot of life is about creativity of saying, okay, if I take this idea from here and match it with this, idea from somewhere else, I will have a new solution for my client. And that's where, synthesizing an ideas creativity comes in. And I mean, many, many other ways of being creative, the creativity that you bring in the way you handle your relationships, the way you handle people around you. So there's, I think creativity, is something that in every shape and form, it really energizes me, I think.
I think it's fantastic that you have said this, and keeping in mind that you've been running your successful technology solutions, AI organization. I should tell you that Albert Einstein once said that creativity is intelligence having fun. And that's exactly what you believe in from the way you sound. And I'm so glad. I'm just so glad. This is fantastic. I've had a wonderful conversation with you, and you've really had a very thought-provoking way of looking at things, Amrita. Thank you for sharing your journey, your valuable insights, and your time with us today. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Zarina. It was fun.
If you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Another fun week in the books last week, and I think you guys should definitely check out some of the shows that we did. So first, let me tell you about Cock and Bull. We did 2 Cock and Bulls on Cyrus Says last week, which is, I don't think we've ever done before. But there was just so much to talk about, and it was fun. The first one was just on Trish, myself, and Cyrus. The second one, we had Abhijit Ganguly on, and that was a great episode. Do check that out. Check out Know Your Kanun as well. It's been a while since I spoke about that show, but Amber's been doing a great job on it. This week he spoke to Naina Sharma, a Canadian lawyer, about the ways that you do business in Canada and the challenges that presents. Definitely very interesting stuff. Do check that out. The guys at Non-Curry are doing some really, really fun stuff. Do check out their latest episode. They talk about roti, the simple bread, but it's got some complications to it. Let them tell you about what they are. Do check that out. Also, do definitely check out the Wire Talks with Siddharth Bhatia. He's been killing it, man. It's just a new show, but what great conversations. This week, he had Siddharth Singh on to talk about pollution. Do check that out. And you know what, guys? The best news of all, Simplified is back. They've been back for a few weeks and I haven't called them out before, but remember that they're back and do check them out. This week, they talk about, does censorship make sense? Knowing the guys, I think I know the answer to that, but you should go check that out. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Whether you're an established sports person or a budding one, or simply a sports enthusiast, join us, Tanvi and Shlok.
We are two passionate pro badminton players talking policy, mindset and everything sport.
So tune in to The Millennial Athlete every Monday.
Only on the IVM Podcast Network.
Trust us, it's gonna be lit.